Hello and welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be the introductory video to the astrology playlist or series within Fractal Gardens. And I wanted to begin by discussing planetary transits specifically, at which point we will branch off into talking about the individual planets themselves, as well as the house system. When we talk about zodiacal transits specifically, we're talking about the aspect of astrology where planets move through the zodiac signs and interact with each other in various ways. These movements are known as transits, and they all have a unique influence on our lives, depending on the planets involved. While you can look at somebody's natal chart and just base the reading off of their planetary placements, eventually I think it is definitely crucial for anybody who's serious about studying astrology to learn the transit system. So with that being said, I will go ahead and try to give a brief explanation exactly how these transit systems work. So each planet in our solar system has its own personality and energy, and we will go into further depth on exactly what each planet represents later on in the series. So you have these energies that are represented by the planets. And as each planet moves through a different zodiacal sign, it's like that planet is expressing its energy in a different form. It is the same energy at the root, however, the mode at which it is filtered is through that zodiacal symbol. I suppose another way to explain it is like the planet itself is placing on a new outfit. It expresses itself differently based on the qualities of the sign. An example being when the sun transits through a different zodiacal sign, it highlights certain aspects of our identity and how we present ourselves to the world. You know, whenever somebody on the street asks, what's your zodiacal sign or what's your birth sign, more often than not, that person is going to give them their sun sign. That's the most prevalent energy within the chart, or at least it is the symbol within your chart that represents how you express yourself outwardly. Another example would be the moon, which moves through a different sign every couple of days, and that influences our emotions and our daily moods. It's a more inward energy, that feminine, receptive energy, giving us the sense of the emotional climate that we're currently experiencing during that transit period. It is also extremely important to mention that every planet has its own speed for which it transitions through the zodiac signs. So, for example, the moon only takes a couple of days to transit each zodiac sign, while the planet Saturn can take several years. Here is a brief animation to give a quick example of the speed at which these planets transition through the zodiacal signs. But with that being said, these planets, they're not just moving through the zodiacal zones alone. They're also interacting with each other through different aspects like conjunctions, oppositions, squares, trines, sextiles, kites, grand trines, etc. These aspects describe the angles between the planets, and each one has a different signature, a different energy. A conjunction, for example, happens when the two planets are right next to each other in the sky. This aspect tends to blend their energies together, often intensifying whatever those planets represent. On the other hand, an opposition occurs when planets are directly across from each other, which can create a push and pull effect, like a tug of war between different areas of our lives. Squares are another common aspect where planets are 90 degrees apart. This can create friction and challenges, but it also pushes us to grow and take action. Trines and sextiles, by contrast, are more harmonious aspects. They're like having the wind at your back, making things flow more smoothly and with less effort. One way that I've heard squares and trines specifically described is that the squares, while they present challenges, They also present a sort of forced growth within the individual, which can at times be painful. Growth can be painful. Whereas with the trines, you're experiencing an area of growth in your life that occurs a little bit more seamlessly. It's something that you personally have to place your energy and effort into in order to achieve. However, if that energy is placed in that aspect, it's a lot easier to achieve, as opposed, again, to just being forced into that growth. Think of it almost as nature versus nurture. So going back to the concept of planetary energy, relative to the zodiacal sign that it is sitting in, we'll have the planet of Mercury, which represents communication, thinking processes. So when we have a planet like Mercury transiting a sign, it can influence how we think, communicate, make decisions. If Mercury is in an easy aspect, like a trine with another planet, conversations might feel more effortless, ideas flow freely, and problem solving becomes much simpler. But if Mercury forms a square with another planet, we might experience misunderstandings, miscommunications, or mental blocks that challenge us to think outside of the box. And then there is, of course, Venus, the planet of love and beauty. It brings its influence to our relationships, in some regards, our finances. Whatever we hold dear in life or whatever we value in life. Depending on the sign it's in, the aspects that it forms, Venus can make us feel more affectionate or harmonious. In a more challenging aspect, like a square, however, it might highlight areas where we need to work through conflicts in our relationships or our finances. Overall, these transits can kind of be seen like ever-changing weather patterns in our lives, guiding us through different experiences, challenges, and growth opportunities. Understanding them gives us a little bit of a roadmap to navigate the ebbs and flows of our personal journeys. If you are interested in learning more, go ahead and stick around because I do plan on creating a pretty in-depth playlist explaining and breaking down how not only each one of these planets interacts within each zodiacal sign, but interacts with each other planet through its aspects within each zodiacal sign. So it will be a pretty extensive playlist, but that's good because I feel like this realm or this specific part of astrology can be very overwhelming. So I'm going to try to bring it to you in a form that is a little more digestible. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you on the channel.